The Tirelong matter has been in the news now for the week since the schools have reopened. This as negotiations have collapsed there. The community as well as the SGB insisting that they were not consulted on this relocation. In fact, even with their resistance and negotiations having collapsed, it looks like the Department of Education in the province going ahead with the relocation of learners to 3 identified mega farm schools in the area. We've got our reporter, Bafedile Mweran, who's following that story very closely. Bafedile, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight here on In Focus. First and foremost, what are the key areas that have led to the collapse in the negotiations with the department in the province?
Well, essentially, I would say it's just basically misunderstanding and poor communication. So according to what we understand, according to the SGB, they are saying that the department has approached them to say now, because here we have a crisis because of the school has been vandalized, this is the mitigation plan. And they agreed after the department said that we're going to integrate the learners into nearby schools. So only to find at the later stage that this particular school is being mentioned at mega farm schools, of which could be approximately over 30 kilometers away from where they are or 40 kilometers where they are. And they're saying that, but those mega farm schools are very far, and we are also not comfortable as SGB or parents for our children to go that far and also to be staying there. We thought that you will arrange with the nearby schools where you would use scholar transport on a daily basis. Then there was that thing where the SGB then, I think they pulled out from the negotiations because we understand there was a task team that has been formed by the Provincial Department of Education, which was actually supposed to be consisting of the SGB parents and also the department officials. But then at a later stage, we hear the SGB saying that they are not part of that particular task team that has been set up. So that's where confusion and conflict emerged until today, to say the SGB saying that we know nothing about this, until the department then started to communicate directly with the parents to say, to send them text messages that you bring your children to Rustenburg Showground to sign the consent form as to allow the department to take them to these 3 identified mega farm schools.
And have parents responded to that SMS and given their consent?
Excuse me. Yes, a number of parents, the majority of them, have heeded the call of the Provincial Department of Education. We were there and we attested that we saw them coming, bringing the children there to live to various mega farm schools, which is Nauport, Mootville, I forget the other one. So they have went. Yesterday, on the first day of the school reopening, it was the grade 12 who left to stay in that particular school. Now today, the grade 8. I think tomorrow it will be the grade. Number of parents have signed those consent forms, and the last interview that we did with the SGB, as well as some parents who were reluctant, who were saying that they do not agree with the department, they also said to us that we don't have any other choice or alternative because it's already late. We do not think any other school will be able to accept our children if we do not allow our children to go with this plan of the department. So as it stands right now, I understand that the parents now are allowing their children to go with the department's plan by integrating all the learners in these 3 mega farm schools that have been identified.
Yeah, those parents who were opposed, of course, now having conceded on the arrangement that the department has made, what do they see as a challenge of integration?
They're saying some of their children are naughty, and they wanted them to stay with them so that they can monitor them. Some of them are sick, and they have to drink medication, and they're saying that it's difficult for them to drink that particular medication when they are home. So what's going to happen? if they leave and having to stay at boarding schools, and they come home only at the time when the schools are closed. So those are some of the concerns that they raised, to say you cannot just come to us 2 days or 3 days before the school reopening and tell us that our children are going. We are not even prepared. We are not ready, to take our children there. The only thing that they wanted or requested to them is that they suggested as parents to the provincial government is to say that there's a primary school. We believe that at that primary school you can bring mobile classes temporarily, as you're indicating that is a temporary measure to integrate learners at these 3 mega farm schools. So now the only way is to bring them here at this particular primary school that has been identified in the village there, to bring mobile classrooms to allow these learners to study there, while you are still bringing a permanent solution of building a high school in the village in a place that has been identified. There's a section that they showed us. It's a ground. They are saying that that place has been earmarked to build a school around 2013. So there's also that particular conflict of the department having to build a school, been promising since 2013 until where we are, and parents are saying that you've been delaying to build a school, hence you're seeing this vandalism. This particular school is far away from the village, so the community members are saying that we cannot take care of this particular school because it's so far. So build a school here in a village where we'll be able to look at it and we'll make sure that nobody comes near it who's not part of this particular community.
All right, Bafilile Moran, appreciate that update there. Tirelong was, of course, renovated 5 times in the last 2 years after being vandalized, and it's had to close yet again after doors were removed and water pipes, as well as cables for electricity stolen. Education MEC in the province, Wendy Matsemala, is joining us now on the line. MEC, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. As I mentioned, this school has been vandalized several times. Is there a plan to rebuild this school, or is there a plan to build a new school closer to the village where the community can look after it?
Good evening, and also to the viewers. I don't think for now a plan will assist, honestly, given what you have already said, given that, number 2, that school has been vandalized more than several times. So for now, as the Department of Education, we don't have any plan to rebuild the school within a very short space of time. The plan that we are having right now is indeed to see to it that we protect the rights of the learner, which is a right to education and also access to education. And that's exactly what we have done since last week. We have been engaging accordingly with the SGB and the parents, because under these circumstances, it is very important that all of us note a fact that learners, accordingly with the Act, are coming from families, from parents. Number 2, learners are being after by guardians. So we have been talking with guardians, and also we've been talking with the parents to those learners. That is why, to this far, parents of the grade 12 learners have signed the consent forms, and all the 74 grade 12 learners, as I speak, are at a mega boarding school in the name of Boons. And today, accordingly with the decision that is being taken, all the grade 8 and the grade 9s have been relocated to one of our mega farm schools, which is called Newzroom. So there's been a decision, and for now I cannot promise anything, honestly, that we can rebuild the school or we can renovate the school within a very short space of time.
Yeah.
That promise we don't have as the Department of Education for now.
So, in a sense, then, this is not a temporary measure. This is something that would be maybe not permanent, but at least that would be long-term.
It will depend, because the processes of government, as all of us understand them, in line with the procurement is not an issue that may take a week or a month to be concluded. So at the same time, processes may unfold. Learners must at the same time be in our different schools and being taught. Teaching and learning, and effective teaching and learning for that matter, should at the same time unfold. For instance, the grade 12s who are at Newzroom Secondary School, all of us in the province, we know that Newzroom is one of our best performing mega farm schools. So I cannot promise, honestly, that within 3 months or within 6 months, the school will be renovated, etc. But I want to say this thing, because you are speaking about Tirelong. And I believe that some people are listening to me. Not so far from Krondal, there is a community of Butikong. In Butikong, we are having a number of schools, clinics, a police station, etc. But it is hardly, if not at all, we see the community of Butikong vandalizing our schools or burning any state assets. Rather, parents on daily basis, they are even going to our school to do the random searches to their own children. So our schools are much more safe. And I want to say, safer communities, safer are our schools.
Yeah.
So I cannot honestly promise for now that we will renovate or build a new school at Tirelong, given that also the school has never been within our plans.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit in a moment on the school safety and security. But I wanted to raise the question on the location of the school. According to the guidelines of school infrastructure as put out by the Department of Basic Education, a school would need to be in a radius of no more than 5 kilometers. Now, I'm told this particular school is outside that particular radius. Are you not going to see a challenge there? There's a thinking around why the school needs to be within a 5-kilometer radius. I beg your pardon.
Fortunately, I know the area very well. The other side of the area is what we call Krondal. And the other side of the area, it is what we call Dine State. And the school is in between the two communities, the Dine State community and Krondal community. And I think to access that school is only 3 kilometers from both sides, actually. So the school is in the middle so that it can serve a purpose for the two communities. So to relocate the school to another community, maybe one day, will still cause a problem.
Now, let's then talk about this issue that you're raising of the security and the safety of the school. Who takes that particular responsibility in this particular manner, in this particular matter of the Tirelong school?
Let me start it from this angle. Once we have built and done with the school, we will hand over the asset to the community. So number one, the community must see to it that that asset is cherished by themselves and they will protect that asset. Number two, after we have studied this issue of vandalism and break-ins in our school, we started to come out with a plan of security personnel in our different schools. And indeed, we prioritize mega farm schools. We prioritize hotspots in the townships where gangsterism is rife in the Northwest. And also, we have prioritized in the Northwest all our special schools. Now, this school, Tirelong Secondary School, used to have a security personnel. The very same, some of community members attacked those people. They caused very seriously bodily harm to those security personnel. Until those people left that school. And they themselves, from time to time, the community is been doing these negative things to the school.
Yeah. MEC, stay with us. We'll take a break. We'll come back in a moment. We are with the MEC for Education in the Northwest Province, of course, talking on developments in the matter of the Tirelong School and the relocation that is now taking place. The MEC is saying there is really no promise of a rebuild of that school or renovation of that school at this particular moment. This is, of course, the arrangement that is in place. We'll continue in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're live with us tonight on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. Conversation continues. We have with us the MEC for Education in the Northwest Province, following, of course, the collapse in negotiations we saw this week as the parents of learners and the SGB insist that they do not want to be relocated. The MEC telling us today that, of course, there have been these ongoing engagements amongst themselves and the SGB. Now, MEC, it seems as though, from what we are hearing, the department took this unilateral decision, having firstly said to the SGB, you will find accommodation for the learners in schools nearby. That's the one area I wanted to address. But the other question is, do you contemplate a situation at this particular point where you are taking those kids, those learners in particular, there will be a situation of overcrowding at those mega farm schools?
Presently, like I said, we have started since last week to prepare for these learners. After hearing and also seeing over the television that the school is being vandalized. From that Monday, we've been working with the SGB. We've been working with the SGB because they are representing parents in our schools. And the departmental officials in the district, led by the district director, Mema Paledi, have engaged all the parents to an extent that sometime last week, Thursday, while they were supposed to sign to consent for their parents, there was a group that I have also seen of other people who I may term as unruly, inverted commas for now. I have seen them on Monday behaving exactly as to what the report of the director has presented before me. So the very same Monday, I started to consult with the SGB. And coming from the meeting with the SGB, there was an agreement. There was a very clear decision. And also that members of the SGB will be part of the task team. Now, we cannot take a unilateral decision if parents didn't be on board right now. We are not taking a single child without his or her parents signing a consent form, without even clarifying parents about the environment where their children are going to, because it is very important again. They've also told the parents that they're going to give your children a social support, because some of them at the age of 12, 13 are very young, and they have been enjoying for some time to be around their parents. I'm speaking in this regard about learners who are doing grade 8 and grade 9. They are still young, and they are going to be given the psychosocial support. The grade 12 parents, they have been signing since last week, and some of them concluded yesterday. That is why we have managed to take first the grade 12, and they have managed to attend a lesson yesterday at Newzroom Mega Farm School. Parents are still flooding to our hub for relocation. And if indeed this could be termed as unilateral, I may differ with that, because parents are signing the consent form. We are not just taking learners from parents. And we need to understand also that under these circumstances, the Department of Education doesn't speak to anyone. Okay, anyone who is toying around this matter, importantly at this critical moment, if a parent of a learner, not any other person who's calling himself a brother, who's calling himself an SGB member, because I may further argue, even to its bad, we are working with the SGB members in the hub right now. So we are not actually taking learners unilaterally and removing them from their parents. Maybe any psychologist will tell as to how that will negatively impact into both parents and a child as time goes on. So we can't do that. That is why we have also involved the psychosocial support of the.
All right, MEC, fortunately that line, they're deteriorating quite significantly in that conversation. But that's what we're going to have to leave it for tonight. That is the MEC for Education in the Northwest province there.